Hey everybody, Happy New Year. As part of our New Year's resolutions, we thought we would do New Year, New Chapter. So we decided to go all the way back to the beginning, Pieces of Perfect, and read a chapter here and there and get together and discuss what we were thinking. So
What were we thinking?
what were we thinking?
No, it was good to go back.
Let's kick it off.
All right, so the first one, very first, where it all started was Pieces of Perfect, kind of a love triangle. So I'm just going to read the back of the book for you guys. Sexy ex-hockey player Max Sampson is a bad boy with something to prove. Handsome single father Adam Carter is the man most women wait a lifetime for. They each take bold and impulsive Lily Hamilton on a journey of self-discovery that's woven with jealousy, deceit, and a whole lot of fun. Lily gets a glimpse of two versions of happily ever after, but will her own piece of perfect be the bad boy or the nice guy? In her quest to have it all, she's risking everything, and only one thing is certain: she'll never be the same.
Wow.
Which is, I guess, good because a lot of people said she was a bitch.
They weren't wrong.
We kind of wrote her like that intentionally. So all right, so yeah, you have Lily's the main character, and then in the first chapter you do not meet Adam at all. But it starts with Lily arriving at the airport after visiting her parents, who also seem like assholes.
Well, do they though?
No, not really.
She definitely seems like more of the asshole. Like I don't what were we thinking when we wrote that lawyers would not be satisfied with their daughter being a teacher?
I don't know. It just like most of everything else we've written. It's a blanketed generalization based on absolutely nothing. I mean, like I think what we were thinking was we were both teachers. I mean, you still are. We were both teachers, and we were kind of like, no one's impressed by this job. So I don't know.
I do think that it was because we were teachers, like it was like a way of kind of poking fun at like our own profession and writing
Sure.
what we knew. But it's just hilarious. Like the very first page, she talks about what an effing like because of course there's cursing all over this chapter, all over it.
Yeah, remember the person who wrote like there's cursing 382 times or whatever the heck? Like who counts that? Anyway,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Well, it was like 300 just for like the F-bomb.
Yeah.
But she's like, I get it. I'm a huge disappointment. And I'm like, because her parents are lawyers, so they don't value her as an educator.
Yeah, huge fucking disappointment. Can we move on now? But they wouldn't. Of course they wouldn't. They're lawyers. Reason with them was useless. Like, if anything, you should be able to reason with lawyers. I have that written on there. Like, isn't that like a paradox? Like, shouldn't I don't know. I get that they're stubborn, but at the same time, like you should be able to reason with them.
Yes, it's ridiculous.
And then so she's standing at the counter here, and the woman, she can't find the boarding pass, and the woman's like annoyed at the counter. Would you like me to print you another boarding pass? And I have here, was this before people had that on phones? So this was like 2013 when we wrote this, I want to say. Did
Probably.
people not have boarding passes on phones? Okay, that's what I was trying to remember. And I mean, I think I wrote most of this first chapter. Obviously, we went back to it and stuff, but in my mind, it was like how I would approach an airport, which is like completely out of sorts, not knowing where anything is, looking for something. So she's just kind of like rifling through stuff. And it says, I grabbed my bag off the top of my suitcase, unzipping it simultaneously, which in my mind, I was like, that seems really hard to do. That you would unzip that as you're pulling it off. And then she catches her bracelet on it.
Right.
And like all of her clothes fall out and everything's everywhere. Which also is like a funny image, but pretty hard to do.
Yeah, it's fun, but it's also then like, so she, she digs through, her stuff goes everywhere. And then like we have this sentence in here where it's like she pulls out her boarding pass and then starts shoving everything that had fallen out into every available compartment, including inside my carry-on. But like your carry-on's all you have.
Is it?
Like
no.
The way no, he's lifting a suitcase, but like everything fell out of the carry-on. So like of course you would shove it back inside the carry-on. Okay. That's what it fell out of. But the way it's written,
stoop to look inside the carry-on. Okay, yes, good detail observation there.
I wish we'd noticed it before we published it.
Or other people who read it and edited it after the fact. And then of course, typical Lily fashion, she's like, "Oh, fuck me." Like, who actually says that? I mean, like, I guess I might, but it's not like anyone else is there with her. And then who we later find out is Max is behind her because she says, "Could this day possibly get any worse? God forbid your parents, who are obviously still together, you come from a wealthy family, you've just come back from visiting them on Christmas break or winter break." And she's like, "Could this day possibly get any worse just because your parents don't approve of something you chose?"
Yeah. I mean, and I get like she has to say, "Oh, fuck me" there because he has to respond.
Yes,
So like we have to
yes.
have it that way. Her entire reaction to him is so bizarre.
Well, he said, so she says, "Oh, fuck me." And he says, "Well, that's pretty presumptuous. I usually insist on a drink first."
Which is totally like funny
Yeah.
and endearing. And
Yeah.
then she's for some reason takes it like the worst possible way. And I get that she's in like a bad mood, but she immediately is like, "Oh my God, this guy is so hot." Like internally, this guy is so hot, but outwardly treats him like a predator.
I
And it
know.
doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Like if you want to bang him, then just bang him.
I know. I know. Um, I was thinking the same thing. So she's like kind of on the ground, and then I guess it's where, she thinks to herself, "Why is he still smiling at me like that?" Then realization hit me because you're still on the ground, asshole. Actually, that should be because I'm still on the ground, I think, but because it's in her mind. But it says, "I managed to compose myself as he grasped the inside of my arm firmly, helping me to my feet." So he helps get her up, and she still treats him like shit.
Yeah, and then he's
Maybe
like, "Oh, you look a little stressed," and then she's all sarcastic, like, "Oh, what gave it away? Real
I know.
genius, this one."
I know. But before that, it's like the skin on his hands was soft, but I took note of his muscular fingers. First of all, no one takes note of muscular fingers. What does he do for a living? His strong forearms and hands screamed blue collar worker, but his skin was much too soft for that. As his flesh made contact with mine, I couldn't ignore the energy between us. My skin grew warm at his solid touch, and I suddenly longed to have his powerful fingers exploring my entire body. I willed myself to brush the thought of him from my mind as I handed my boarding pass to the woman at the counter, who was sadly not as amused with my display as the handsome stranger had been. So
So,
she is just staring at him and thinking all of this.
well, which is fine, like, which
Yeah,
honestly is fine
yeah.
because that can be like an awkward, like, she's staring at him. But in what capacity would a professional hockey player's skin on his hands be
I
smooth?
thought the same thing. Wouldn't it be like calloused and rough and
And
anything but soft?
and isn't that much hotter?
Yeah.
Why did we do
I, I I don't know. I don't know. I mean, other parts of him can be smooth, but his hands, I feel like, should be. It reminds me of Mice and Men, where that guy, who's the Curly, wears the glove on his hand and puts Vaseline in it to
that?
keep his
Yeah,
hands like soft and smooth for his wife. That's what it reminded me of.
so gross.
Um, she thinks, "Gee, what gave it away about being stressed? He's a real genius, this one. No shit, I'm stressed." And then she launches off into a thing about her parents.
Oh, it's a total info dump. That whole paragraph is
Oh
a
my God,
info
info
dump.
dump. Yeah, looking back, I'm like, guys, don't info dump this. I mean, the first page was like an info dump, and it actually doesn't read as poorly as, like, it doesn't read as like, "I'm just telling you this to tell this," but it is a bit of an info dump.
Yeah, like looking at it critically, it definitely
Yes,
because it's
exactly.
a very long segment for it to all be like a thought, like for it all to be italicized in
Yes.
her head.
Yeah, it's like a whole paragraph of italics. She
I
thinks
mean,
about like her thong falling onto his foot. Was it even clean? Jesus fuck.
and then she just
We
writes, "I'm fine," and he says, "You sure are." And she
Yeah.
immediately is like, "What a creep! Who does he think he is?" I'm like, "I don't know. You just stood there staring at him for a solid 45 seconds. He's probably the hottest guy in the airport. Just
I
go with it.
know. And he
Go with
helps
it."
you up, and your dirty underwear was all over his feet, and he didn't say like, "Ew, get your dirty thong off me." So he seems like a decent guy. But I don't know. And then she thinks like, does he say things like this to any woman he thinks might be an easy lay? And then
Which
she wonders.
obviously he thinks that she's an easy lay,
Yeah.
and he's right.
Yes. Yes, eventually. So then she's like, "What am I thinking?" I don't know, Lily, what are you thinking? I gotta get the hell out of here now. So then it cuts to security. The line at security was longer than she would have expected for a Monday evening. Did she really think about like how long it would be? I don't know. And then she thinks about how her face is usually pale, but she has a little bit of color
Because she's
now.
embarrassed, and so that's a good thing.
Yeah, yes. Finally, she has some sort of like, I don't know, self-awareness or
All of a sudden, she's a glass half full type of person. Like, oh, I'm mortified, but at least I brought some color to my cheeks.
Yeah, yes, yes, yes. She also thinks about how she regrets not getting changed after dinner and talks about or like thinks about how she had dinner with her parents. First of all, who wears a pencil skirt to dinner with your parents and heels? Um, but that's what she's in. And she grabs her bags out of her parents' car after they pissed her off. But I thought to myself, well, okay, she leaves dinner abruptly because they pissed her off so much, and she goes and then gets her bags from the trunk of the car. But does she say like, "Hey, give me the keys, mom and dad. Like, I need to go get my bags." Like, I'm like, how did she get them out of the car?
Well, I also don't understand. Like, so she just flew in like Christmas morning.
I don't know.
Like, why would they still be in the car? Like it's like she
That's
showed up, they went to dinner, and she immediately got too irritated with them, and like just immediately spun around and went back
well,
on the plane.
I wondered the same thing, and I have a note in here that's like, why are her bags in the car? And I thought, were they going to drive her to the airport? Like in my mind, I thought they're having dinner before they drive her to the airport. So I have a comment here, like, was she planning to get changed? Like, was she planning to like pull stuff out of her bag and get changed when she got to the airport, like after dinner? Or like in the restaurant bathroom? I have no idea.
Yeah, the timing still just seems weird because like as a teacher, she would have had like the entire week off. So why would she have booked a flight home?
Is it a couple days after I was
Is
gonna
it a
say
couple
after
days
dinner?
after? I'm like
Christmas?
totally
I have
lost.
no idea.
I don't even know what day it is.
I don't think she does either.
Okay.
But she says like change keep it an afterthought. Instead, she grabbed the luggage out of the car, opted to call a cab because these were the days before Uber and Lyft were common. And she thought one of them would have come after her. I mean, she could like, did she take the keys with her? Where the hell are the keys? Did they just unclick it from like the restaurant window?
Yeah, I mean, this whole thing doesn't make any sense. It's like, so even if she was, I'm still on the timeline. Like, even if it's a few days after Christmas, so she spent like a few days with them. Like,
Uh-huh.
I mean, I guess maybe they would like save their "you're a big disappointment" for before she's leaving, so they don't
Where are
ruin
you
the
going?
holiday.
Back to
I
your
don't
job to teach young minds.
like, like they've gotten along the whole trip, and then suddenly they're just like, "We hate what you do for a
I
living."
know. While you're here, before you go, we have a few thoughts on your chosen career that we've paid for.
It's so
Um,
weird. And then she has to go, of course, like it gets stepped into the area for a full body scan, which now is like, you know, what everyone has, but she's like completely like, oh, this is seriously like this, she's still on like, this is the worst thing that could ever possibly happen to me. This guy's probably a perv.
I
The guy
know.
held me
They
up as a
didn't tell you
perv.
to bend over and spread your cheeks, dude. Calm down. Like you're just standing in like the scanning thing. Like these pervs in the back room probably get off watching women go through body scans. I mean, that's a little presumptuous, I think. And while she's getting scanned, again, the timeline, he completely like well composed goes through all of the security line, takes off his belt, puts everything back on, and she's still getting scanned. Like how many times it takes like 2 seconds to get scanned.
Yeah, I mean, he takes off his black Nike hoodie, which like for what? So she can see some of his abs. Like the whole thing is like,
I mean, it does give you a pretty good description of like what he looks like, and he is appealing, but she is not.
wise. No.
So yeah, I don't know why it takes her so long in there, but she says so then it cuts to after security. She's finally through the scan. I guess she didn't have a bomb on her. I knew two things for certain. I desperately needed a drink, and I needed to forget about everything that had happened during the past 72 hours. Okay, so that gives us a timeline there. That's where you got that from. So 72 hours she was with her parents. And they probably like, gave her a bunch of gifts, and she needs to forget about all of it because it was so awful. By the time I left security, I still had about 45 minutes before the flight boarded. So I found an open bar and took a seat near the door at the corner of the U-shaped counter. So one question here to go back to her flight is how she would have never made her flight if she stayed for dinner. Like, if she finished dinner and dessert with them or whatever, like, she never would have made the flight. She only has 45 minutes.
Well, that's because she got that body scan.
Yeah, yeah. And couldn't find her boarding pass for 10 minutes.
Yeah, it really held her up.
Yeah. So, she organizes everything. So I guess I'm picturing her like pulling out her thong and things and like throwing them on the bar and like refolding everything. And no surprise, she notices down the bar, a few seats down, it's Mac. She doesn't know his name yet, though.
Yeah, and we described him a little bit more about how massive he is and how he's tall, and she wishes, but like she's basically like, he's pumped full of hard muscle. I could kick myself for not being more observant. There was just literally a whole paragraph describing
Maybe she means earlier.
Yeah, she means, I guess, that she didn't see him sitting there, but it's just
Yeah.
weird, like put.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I like that she's like, there's no way I would have stayed here if I had noticed him. I don't think. I'm like, I don't think. Like, does she mean like, I don't think that I would have stayed here? Or I don't think, like, I'd never think about anything.
Well, and I feel like this was like something that we got from when we eventually like did publish traditionally and got notes from an editor, like was like, don't have your characters like internally not know what they want, because like she would know whether or not she wanted to sit there or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
Like,
true. I don't remember that, but that's true. Okay.
she's like, I don't think. Well, like, because you're you and we're in your head. So like,
Yeah.
whether you want to sit there or not. Like,
Yeah. I don't think I would have. I mean, I can see how you might be like, it's easy to make a decision about something that like is theoretically happening or whatever. But and then she decides or looks around and decides whether she can make an inconspicuous getaway without looking like a psycho. Probably not, because everyone else is not as like self-absorbed as you are and like only concerned with themselves. So he probably noticed you sitting there, which he obviously did, because he has already ordered a drink for you and slides it down the counter to you, which is also a funny image to think about.
yes, and then like the liquid splashes over the side and she licks it off her finger.
Mm-hmm.
And like, so he makes like a playful comment because she's, we clearly have her doing this like sexy action.
Yeah.
And he's completely like, oh my God, let's not pretend.
You
like,
stop pretending that you're not watching me. What's the next one?
I don't
you
think you're a total douchebag. Thanks for the drink.
She still takes the drink, which, by the way, is also coming up our first reference to roofies. So there's no shortage of things that could be found offensive in our books. And the first one's on page 8. Well, actually, the first one was probably on like page 1, but nothing like a good consent rape joke to throw in there. Always in good taste.
Always. I also love how she leans forward and it says like, to allow some of her ample cleavage to sink into his line of view, and then yelled at him that he's being like a douchebag. Like, stop hitting on me as I like throw my boobs in your face.
I know. Such harsh words coming from such a beautiful mouth. And she still likes the way that sounds. Like, she's still, but then instead of like thinking like, maybe I should engage with this guy, she pauses for a moment and says, what is that, a pickup line? You can't be serious.
And then he continues to tell her how beautiful she is.
Yeah.
And which again is sort of just like a way for us to describe her through his eyes, which was clever way to, give us credit.
We were early writers. Yes.
Yeah, we had no idea what we were doing. So the fact that we thought to not have her like describe herself, I think was thumbs up.
Yep.
He
did do a lot of things well, but
yeah, he does mention her ass, which is kind of weird.
I know,
but
we did want to give him a little bit of like an edge to him, though. I think, yeah.
But so he basically just like, what's not to like, and I enjoy your little show back in security, and then a chill runs up her spine, and she shifts uncomfortably. And I'm like, why would, like, she's clearly turned on. Why would a chill run up your spine? It's like a horror movie.
It even says, as I shifted, I felt the wetness that had been created by his words. Is he seriously turning me on? So like, she's physically reacting to him and is still annoyed by him simultaneously. Then she talks about how like his eyelashes are hot. Like she notices his long dark lashes. When did eyelashes become sexy? And speaking of hair, his was just the right length to yank on while he moved his head back and forth between my legs. Jesus Christ, Lily, get back to reality. Show, I wasn't me who was putting on the show. You lifting up your shirt, taking off your belt and staring at me. Any of that ring a bell?
Yeah, like him taking off his hoodie and his shirt accidentally riding up in thing was like an intentional,
I know,
in
like
any way equates to her throwing her underwear on his feet.
I know, and like they make you take your hoodie off. Like that wasn't he didn't like strip down to nothing. I don't know. It's just really funny. But it is a good interaction. Like it's definitely entertaining, I think, to read back. And he says, well, I'm glad to see I wasn't the only one enjoying the show. And she's like, I didn't say I enjoyed it. She snapped back. Oh man. And
So
then,
yeah,
yeah.
they go back and forth. I did melt a little bit when he says, "Suit yourself, doll."
Yeah.
Because I was like,
I
"Oh,
know. He asks for
doll,
her name or says, like, tell me your name. And she immediately thinks, like, I don't take orders.
you could be a guy in the back of the white van." Like she's all
Yeah.
like, I was taught as a young child to never give my name to strangers. Well, you're 27, Lily.
I know. And like, isn't that how you meet people? Giving them your name?
Yeah, I mean the whole thing. I mean, it really is like her internal versus her external is fairly ridiculous.
I know. I know. It'd be interesting if we ever rewrote like the first chapter, just like rewrote the first chapter as we are now. Same things happening, but just different feel to it or something. But that gives away how she is. She is kind of like just irritated with life and I don't know. Yeah, suit yourself, doll. I do like that. He says, I thought you might be interested to know mine since I'm fairly certain you'll be screaming it later.
And she says, "Wow, you've got a big head, don't you?" Which is like anyone over the age of 15 knows not to say that.
She even rolls her eyes. I asked, rolling my eyes at his forwardness.
And he's of course amused and says, "Oh, honey, you have no idea." And that's my cue to go. And she like finishes the drink and takes off.
I love that she finishes the drink. It'd be great if it was roofied, and as she's making her like grand exit, she just drops like a ton of bricks to the ground. And then I don't understand this. She says, "Looks like I'm the one who got the drink."
Yeah, no, I don't understand.
What is that a reference to? But I have absolutely no interest in fucking you. Good way to make that clear after you've already left. Have a nice flight. And she winks.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
I don't know either. And then I guess he calls her a liar, but like she just thinks she might have heard that. And I guess that's to the fucking thing. Like, I won't fuck you, and he calls her a liar.
Yes, which he is, again, right to do.
Oh my God, I love it.
And then, yeah, I mean, she storms back and it's like, oh, who did he think he was to talk to me like that? But more pressingly, who was I to like it? Like, I don't know, a human being? Like, I don't.
Yeah, I know. And like, do you like it? Because you keep telling us you don't, or telling him. Yeah. Oh my gosh. She's like, although if his head was as big as he claimed, there might not be any reason to regret anything. And then she thinks to herself, stop thinking about him, Lily. He's a sleazy asshole who's probably just looking for a quick fuck before he hops on a long flight to his wife.
You're better than this. But she's not.
She's not. Is she? She's
no.
not. She's not.
I'm pretty sure we find out in chapter 2 that she's not.
This was so much fun.
It was fun.
I loved it. I loved it. I can't wait till the next one. So chapter 2, obviously, no surprise, they're going to be on the flight together. But yeah, I mean, it was a pretty good intro, to her, and I guess also him a little bit. And she's a real asshole.
She is. I would, in retrospect, what are we, like 11 years later almost?
Yeah, something like that.
I would write her differently. But
yeah, it would be fun to do like a rewrite of that at some point, just like maybe when we hit 15 years we'll do a 15-year redo of that,
or we'll do like the same concept but different characters, and we'll fix all the mistakes that we made.
That would be good. Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, next time we'll visit chapter 2 where she's at the gate and she looks like she has a bottle of water and a Cosmo magazine. So no phones at this point, I guess. We've time traveled back um to where people don't scroll on phones.
All right.
All
Well,
right. Well, yep.
time.
If you want to find out what happens, grab the book, Pieces of Perfect. All right. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.